Hey, what up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you today. This morning I woke up really early. It is 6:46 a.m., so I probably woke up somewhere around 5:30. And I've really been behind on watching things on the WWE Network, and I really would not make a video at 6:46 in the morning on a day I didn't have to go to work. You would think that I would be lounging in and basically watching as much bad TV as I could, trying to make myself go back to sleep to get enough rest for the day. But the first thing that came to my mind was basically I've really been behind on WWE Network stuff, and there was a lot of little documentary things that I wanted to catch up on. The first thing that I chose was the 10 Hours to Houston. This is before they were superstars. Look at the Usos. Back in 2002 and 2003, WWE DVD came out with these two DVDs. Honestly, these are in my collection. I've never watched these. On both of these DVDs, they go in depth, talking about the life of 6 superstars on each DVD, what they did when they were growing up, where they come from, and just giving you a little bit of a feel about what they do. I've heard good reviews of these, but I've never watched them, basically because there's no matches on them or anything like that. But with how good this Usos thing was today, someday I think I should definitely check those out. You got little mini documentaries on Brock Lesnar, Rob Van Dam, Chris Jericho, Taz, Tori Wilson, Bradshaw, Stacy Keibler, Kurt Angle, Edge, Christian, Lita, and Spike Dudley. So, lots of superstars you'd like to know more about. But honestly, if there was anybody on the roster that needed a little bit of a backstory, the Usos is a great, set of guys to give it to. Basically, we knew that they were Rikishi's son. We knew that they were from the, this Samoan legacy, as they said on the documentary. But you really get an in-depth thing. I mean, honestly, from listening to the Wrestling Observer, somebody called in on the call-in show and basically was telling Brian how to keep track of who's who inside of the ring. This is something that they touch on inside the documentary. With Miz came on there to talk about when he was the host of Main Event. He used to be on commentary each and every week, and he'd never know how to keep track of which Uso was which Uso, and he would be calling one guy's name and then the next guy, and he could never really commit to who was who. But the saying was that basically with Jimmy and Jay, you think of the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon and Jay Leno, and basically you say Jay Leno left the Tonight Show and Jimmy Fallon slipped right in. Jay has the paint on the right side of his... Jay has the paint on the left side of his face, and Jimmy has the paint on the right side of his face, which is kind of, hard to think about when you're actually watching the match, but it is what it is. And that's something actually that they were able to use, was they stole the Divas twin magic from the Bellas, and they got a win over the then champions. I believe it was Stardust and Goldust, to keep them in the title hunt from going down. The Usos, they talked about their upbringing and how basically they were raised by what you can call, I guess, a single mother, since Rikishi was always on the road wrestling for the WWF. Whether if it was back in his tag team days or whether if it was when he went back and he was dancing up a storm as the big fat dancing Samoan guy as a part of Too Cool. He had a history of being in WWF for a long time in wrestling, all over the world and being gone. These two guys were twins. And basically they lived their whole life together, where basically they were just rambunctious all around the house, causing a whole bunch of trouble. I don't have twins. I've got 2 girls. There's no way in the world I can think of what it'll be raising these two. I mean, my girls go crazy. I mean, I would never think girls that I have to break up, punching and kicking, and it's a daily occurrence here at the Breach household. But basically they found football as a relief. The mother loved dropping them off for football because basically they would run around all the time, and when they came home they would be so tired from playing football that they would just crash out and go to sleep. A guy that added in on the stories was their friend as they were growing up is basically was Roman Reigns a part of the family. They talked about how they all played on the same football team. They were raised down, I believe, where they said Pensacola, Florida, and they were like this wrecking crew where basically they started all 4 years of high school, and then after high school they signed to go to Western Alabama. One of them, after 2 years, decided that college wasn't for them, and they left, and they went back, and they started working in the family's sort of office supply. Like they sold office furniture, and then they would go and they would install the office furniture. And so you can see that, like, Roman Reigns and the Usos, once the other one left college and came back, basically they would fit into big guys, moving things around, putting things together, and getting it done. They said they liked it because there was no real structured hours, because it was a family business. They could do what they needed to do as long as they got the job done. It really didn't matter. But then one night, it was honestly just a little bit out of the blue. Umaga, one of their family members, came to the house and knocked on the door and just basically said, "You should be in wrestling. This is the last time I'm going to reach my hand out to you. You two are, two good-looking guys, and you really can make a whole lot of money doing what your family's done for years. But if you don't come with me tonight, it's over and it's done with. I'm not going to ask you again." So basically, that night they kissed their kids goodbye. They jumped in the car with Umaga. Umaga drove them all the way to Houston, dropped them off at Booker T's school, where they would start, learning how to wrestle, and going through the training of training in the gym, and learning how to get it done. They didn't spend a whole lot of time because it was basically only half an hour of how they were when they were training. Booker T gave a few little things on there, but that was honestly one thing I've never known about the Usos. And I know that when they debuted in the WWF in 2010, I think at that time Booker T was wrestling in TNA, so they didn't probably want to give a whole lot of props to Booker's school, so they were probably never were really able to bring that up, but they didn't really say if that's where Roman Reigns came, but maybe seeing from how good this Usos documentary is and how great I've been seeing reviews on Twitter, and I don't think anybody's made a YouTube review yet like this, but I can see them going on and doing more of these. But this is really good stuff. You get a lot of behind the scenes stuff. They talk about the war dance they did. I thought honestly this was something that they just sort of made up one day, and they actually talked about how it didn't get over when they first started doing it, but they just sort of stuck with it, knowing that it would get there. And I remember the first few times that I was seeing it, I didn't know what the hell they were doing, and I thought it was really stupid. But you just sort of started watching it, you started getting used to it, and then I started thinking about it as I was watching this documentary about when the Usos come out. I get fired up. They're not one of my favorite tag teams, but when I think about what went on during the Attitude Era, with guys like Goldust, the Road Dogg, who else could I dump into there? But basically just Val Venus, Godfather, when even The Rock's involved in that. When basically those guys came out, it wasn't always that you really wanted to see those mid-card matches. It was the fan interaction of the entrance. Like when the Godfather Ho Train, everybody was Ho Train, and everybody knows the Hello Ladies and the oh, you didn't know? It's just that part of fan interaction that brings you from a guy that's just sitting there watching the show to basically a guy that's doing the chant that's going to be heard all over television, making sure that everybody knows how over this guy is. And it's something that's just so easy to make these guys look like stars that basically WWE is killed from the opening. But, when the Usos come out and they do their the little dance, which is, I guess, a Samoan ritual that they would do to fire them up before they went into war with the others on the islands. It sort of brings something to their heritage and shows everybody what they're doing. And then when everybody yells, "Ooh!" and then you "Oh!" and it's always something fun to do at the show. Even though they're not one of my favorite tag teams, I felt very close to them on this show. You can sort of see how I think it's Jay that's on Total Divas. With him being married to. Hey, they didn't even show her or talk about that at all. They didn't have any of the divas on the show. They had Tyson Kidd on there. And I was thinking that was because of them being together on the show. But him and Naomi's marriage was never talked about. They just sort of kept it just to them. So that is pretty cool. They didn't use any of that footage. But very good stuff. Make sure you go out of your way to check this out. It's only 27 minutes. So if you got some time to kill, make sure you watch this documentary on the Usos. Honestly, I think you're really going to like it. There's not a lot about, their wrestling. It only shows the big splash from their debut in 2010. Talks about them beating the New Age Outlaws on Monday Night Raw for the Tag Team Championships, which honestly in my mind was a real big surprise. They ended up keeping the titles for about a good 6-month run after that. And even though I don't think the first run was their best run, they were good champions. I think that honestly the tag team division in WWE has been weak for a long time. And, shining some light on it right now, even though they're not champions. They've got the Usos, they've got the Dust Brothers, they've got, I guess you can have to talk about Miz and Mizdow, because they have the tag team champions. And that's about all the tag teams I can think of. Maybe someday they'll start, bringing some guys up. But the Usos sort of fit the tag team division since they're twins. I could see them being a tag team for their career. I don't really see them breaking up and one going after the Intercontinental Championship or something like that. They're better as a team. They're better together. It makes more sense. But knowing WWE somewhere along the line, they're probably going to want to split these guys up and see what they can do as singles. But, just like with a lot of things, it won't work. And we'll have to figure out what goes on from there. But yeah, you got to hope that maybe WWE's got more twins in developmental right now, because the tag team division is lacking. And they need all the help they can get. But this was awesome. This is one of the things that I'm glad that I have the WWE Network for. And I'm hoping you guys check it out as well.